The Trek Geeks Podcast Network is proud to have Fansets as its presenting sponsor. Fansets is the place for amazing pin collectibles with over 300 officially licensed Star Trek pins and new releases every month. Stay tuned for a special discount code good on your next order at fansets.com just for Discovering Trek listeners. Fansets, our pins have character.
DT listeners, Sara and Kasey here, and this is Discovering Trek Enterprise. Welcome to the First Frontier. We two specters of a crew long gone are back to chit-chat on another episode of Enterprise. This is the first full series watch through for Sara, and gosh darn it, it's a rewatch for me. Today we're talking about Oasis. This episode originally showed up on the airwaves about 20 years ago on April 3rd, 2002. So, if in the last couple of decades you haven't watched this episode, maybe now is the time. You can put us on pause, fire up Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime, Netflix, physical discs, whatever, and watch Oasis. Then come on back here and listen to us talk all about it. That is your non-warning spoiler warning. Was it live or recording? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. Let's get to it. Hit the beats.
All right. Before we get into Oasis, we want to remind you that we want to hear from you. We want to hear about everything that you have to say about Enterprise. So how can you get in touch with us with your thoughts on the first season of Star Trek Enterprise?
Oh, the great googly moogly. There's so many ways listeners can do it. You can go to trekgeeks.com/contact, leave an email to give us your thoughts. Heck, on Twitter or Facebook, all you have to do is search for Discovering Trek, and you can leave us messages there too. You can also leave us a voicemail by visiting the website at trekgeeks.com and clicking the big blue button. Remember, though, any comments that you leave us, we might use in a future episode of Discovering Trek. Enough of that. On to the pie chart.
We're here. It's happening. Let's talk about pie.
I tell you. Well, Sara, I'm gonna defer to you here first. What is your pie scale for this episode?
I gave it 4.5 slices of apple crumble pecan pie a la mode. I thought this was a good episode. I thought that there was potential for things to be a little different to give it the full 5 or 6, but I liked it a lot, and I was very, very excited to see our very lovely, beautiful man, Renee.
I hear you. I gave this episode, I did go to the 5 slices of pie. I found it, a semi-generic Trek story, but yeah, I loved seeing who was in it. It was very much just a very nice, comforting episode. And as things have gone on, I was like, we keep moving on to episodes that seem to become better. And better, and this was still on the upward trajectory for me.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of a downward trajectory, here it comes.
Brace for impact.
Here comes the lyrical masterpiece, as we call it. I shall do my best.
Hold on to your seats, people.
Oh, Lordy, here we go. Aboard the Enterprise, the spice-loving trader Damar is very talky. He might spill the beans in exchange for some coffee. Damar reluctantly tells of a starship full of materials and ghosts. Not nice nor dangerous, but definitely not hospitable hosts. Needing supplies, the crew decide to check out the crash site. Dilithium, beryllium, and titanium fill Tucker with delight. T'Pol and Trip explore the ship, all scary, silent, and dark. We have the creeps, the willies, and the heebie-jeebies, and a little lark. Even though on sensors no life or power can be found, TNT encounter a room full of veggies and an armed crew all around. The survivors of the ship were shot down 3 years past. How did they finagle safety, clothing, and food so that they could last? Trip becomes close with Liana, one who is originally silent and only stares. They talk and build trust while working together on repairs. The other crew members are a little odd and not all that eager, even though the Enterprise offers rescue and food choices that are never meager. Liana and Trip stroll along Enterprise, both kind of smitten. Trip is kind, Liana inquisitive. They fit like a warm coat and mitten. Alas, the true story of the ship's crash comes to the surface. Ezraal created holograms for his daughter. That was his purpose. His guilt and being afraid drove his actions for years. With Trip's help, he realizes for Liana's sake, he must face his fears. Not Odo's love and holographic engineers will make the final repair to help Liana to live a fulfilling life and see what is out there. Ta-da!
Love it. Very sweet. Very well done.
Thank
Did
you.
not crash into the planet. We swooped just by, grazed the water, and we're off into space. As always.
As always, right?
Yeah. What was that? A big old bottle of champagne you're drinking there, or what?
Oh. Pellegrino. And if anyone from Pellegrino is listening, please send me free Pellegrino. This is not a paid advertisement. I just love their stuff.
Oh boy. That could go down a dark path. Suddenly I'm going to be looking for a lot of free stuff. All right.
Right? Oh,
McDonald's chicken nuggets. Now accepting all donations of McDonald's chicken nuggets.
Oh, yeah.
Send nuggies. All right.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that would be a path we could just for the next 90 minutes. Oh, by the way, you know what else I like?
Suddenly we're wiped clean from the Trek Geeks website. No mention ever of us ever again. Forcibly removed. Oh, I love it. All right. So we got some thoughts on this?
I think we do.
I went back to my notes because I see that you have lots of cool notes for us to discuss. And I'm going to have questions because I forget how this episode ends. And I just want to quickly give my quick notes before we dive into your more appropriate conversation. This is what I wrote. T'Pol is jealous. And then I wrote, what kind of technology do they have other than holographic? And then I wrote, it could have been scarier. So that's kind of where I was at. That's all I wrote. Those are my comments.
I like it because part of you and I were on the same wavelength there of, is T'Pol jealous? Yeah. I had it coming up later. I was like, this is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Little interaction with her. That's why I called them TNT. Instead of saying the names anymore, it's just, it's always T'Pol and Trip. So TNT are doing their thing, and was like, mm-hmm. I think there's a little bit more there that is below the surface.
I think that was hinted at this one big time for sure.
Yeah. And then for you, when you're saying it could have been scarier, do you think they were going for scary or mystery?
Well, I mean, I think they were going for mystery, but I think it could have been played up at the beginning as being a bit scarier when you really didn't know what the situation was. I think I just like things to be scary, and I'm a little bit more into that than I am the mystery. And I think that this episode was I probably didn't give it the credit it deserves because I found myself comparing it a lot to the storyline we've recently seen in Discovery, with the discovery of the other, what's the species that Saru is?
Oh my God!
You know what
we're stumping ourselves right now.
But you know what I'm talking about when they come across the guy on the planet and it was all holographs. Anyway, yeah, I think I compared a little bit to that episode, and that episode was a bit more scary and just so well done that I'm like, oh, don't go down the path of comparing Enterprise to Discovery because it would not be a fair fight, in my opinion.
I hear you. I hear you completely on that one. Yeah, it's What? Go for it.
I think the reason I was saying that too is because they kind of give off the story of like, ooh, it's like there's ghosts, it's a ghost ship. Like they kind of like give that little bit of a context at the beginning. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
maybe I was hoping for a little bit more at the beginning. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's just like an innocent, sweet story. You fooled me into feeling something. I wanted to be scared, not like touched by this episode. Like I think that's like what it
My
was.
cold heart was warmed just a tiny bit, damn you.
Exactly. The Grinch over here was just wanting to be scared and angry.
I hear you, because when it started, I was like going, gosh, we've just had something like this recently with the Klingon ship episode, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
and then yeah, there was that real, I mean, shift
Yep.
of just this is, I have it here as, yeah, it's a mystery, and to me it was a gentle story, and I'm not exactly sure how to fully articulate that, but it kind of felt like a summer camp, innocent, falling in heavy like
All
story
right.
for Trip and Liana, and that the love story of this episode is the love story between the father and the daughter. And just, it was it was treated, I thought, in a very non-bombastic, non-normal male Trek-centric story way. And I think that was part of what was refreshing to me in this of, okay, this is partially Trip's story, and he's in there, and they're beginnings of these little relationships or things that he gets himself into, but it felt a little more organic
Mm-hmm.
to me in this, and it wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna kiss you because the communicator's not working and I can't understand your words.
Mm-hmm.
And on this one, it was, two people just kind of, hey, hi, how are you? Want to go get an ice cream? Want to go like for a walk? And gentle progression
It felt
that seemed
like
more realistic.
it could be a Disney movie.
Yeah, that's true.
There was like it felt like the innocence. Like there's no mother. It's the typical sweet girl meets the boy, and there's a mystery, and then the dad. I mean, the voice of um the chef from Little Mermaid. Maybe that's the Disney context I'm getting to. But
There you go.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
it was a sweet little episode. I did enjoy it.
it was, and like we're saying, hey, welcome back, Renee Auberjonois.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, classy performer. There's
Amazing.
just,
Yeah.
what can't the guy do? You go back, and I mean, I even went back and found clips of Benson on YouTube just to remind myself of certain things that man had done in his career, and I was like, wonderful job, wonderful guest star role without it being you smacked over the head on it. There were these little subtleties, Sarah, of going on where that they're trying to hide the fact that the other characters are holograms. But there's these little things in there where, like, Renee's character is laying back a bit, and the captain of the ship is interacting with the other captain of the ship, but you can just gently tell who's really in charge there. And I was like, good for you, good job here. That's a nice thing to see, and how Renee eases into everything. It was just a flow, and I'm like going, okay. And the realistic thing here of, the guilt this character feels of was really in a no-win scenario. So whether deciding I'm going to go save my daughter, that if we crash is definitely for sure dead. And then if I go save my daughter, other people are going to die. So it's going to be a horrible decision for somebody either way, but I have to make it, and then I have to live with it.
Yeah.
And then try and make the best possible scenario here for my child.
So I need you to remind me real quick how this ended, because I'm just drawing a bit of a blank. It was that they set up all that they needed so that they could fix their own ship and leave the planet. That they didn't leave with the Enterprise on the Enterprise to go somewhere else. Correct. They gave him the technology so that he could do what he needs to do, so that the two of them could go off and live normal lives again, right?
Enterprise engineers were working on it, and then Renee's character had created all these other holographic engineers.
Yeah.
And he said, right. they can do the work and get us out of there. Perfect. So yeah, it was I kind of created this situation. I'm going to fix the situation, and I'm going to get over my fears and trepidations and do this, because no matter how scared I am, I need to do this for my daughter.
Absolutely. And, that totally, yeah, very good.
Right. And I was like, that was wonderful. Trip Paul.
Yeah.
Nice little interaction. I love when she just needles him about his experience on the Zerulean vessel in Unexpected.
I do and I don't. It's like, he was a victim. Let's stop bugging him about it. I don't think.
Okay.
If it was another way around, and
I got on that, but I think this was where the little seeds of a relationship with them come. And what I liked about it is, I think she would have thought, like you have logically, it's like, hey, logically this doesn't make sense, but there's this a little emotion that's coming in there.
I think she just likes trying to get his goat. I think she just likes to. I think she wants to get a reaction because she likes him and she's no longer Vulcan anymore. We've learned that in the last episode. She's just fallen apart from her Vulcan ways, and she's going to become a wild and obnoxious human in no time. I love it. She's been corrupted.
She's going to trim the top of her ears and go full in. I was just laughing. I was like, there's a fun repartee between those two that is coming along, and as we progress into this season, it becomes more and more of a thing of, okay, I get you doing the little callbacks, and that's fine, but that we're actually building upon stuff, except for no Phlox at all in this episode. But I understand why. As Trip says, he goes, oh yeah, if I don't introduce you to him, I'll never hear the end of it.
Yes. Perfect.
And honestly, Liana and Phlox would have eaten every damn thing in the commissary if that had happened.
Happily.
I was like, that's just not going to change. So yeah, I think, as we're saying, a fun episode, mostly good, enjoyable. We keep moving on and progressing. And you know what's really enjoyable?
Fansets.
God, it's like you read my mind.
That's right. Discovering Trek listeners, we want to thank our friends over at Fansets for being the exclusive sponsor on Discovering Trek. The Fansets crew are always working to put out the best product available and continue to come up with new designs and product releases. There are more wonderful new products out right now. There is, of course, the TOS character and ship pins from all of your favorite Trek series, Delta pins, and of course, amazing non-Trek items like Wonder Woman 84, Lost in Space, Scooby-Doo, and Ultraman. He is a man, and he's an Ultraman. There are loads of pins and accessories for you at fansets.com, so right after listening to us, go to fansets.com, scroll along all the amazing pins offered, and then load up your cart, enter the special code word Discovering Trek. It's in all caps with no spaces at checkout for an amazing 10% off your entire order. And don't forget, if you're in the US and spend more than $30, you will also get free shipping.
Free shipping?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right?
Man, that is fantastic. So Fansets, our pins have character, and we thank our friends at Fansets for being the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network.
I like it. What have we got?
I dig their stuff. I bought more stuff this week.
Did you? Fun.
Oh, yeah. It's almost every. Oh my! So I keep doing where I'm filling in the characters for series pins because new stuff keeps coming out, and then I have to reorganize on my pinfolio where everything goes. I should have really thought this out a little bit beforehand of leaving open spaces to put more stuff in there. Yeah. But I know, I think I was distracted because I was hungry.
Fair enough.
Just kind of how it goes. But I think Sheffy has some frozen delights for us this week.
Yes. I like frozen delights, especially in this weather.
Right?
I've got some cyclone popsicles in the freezer, and I know I'm going to have about 2 or 3 of those bad boys today.
What is your fave on frozen delights? Because I go in between the fudgesicles or drumsticks.
Okay. Well, if I want to be fancy, I mean, you can't really go wrong with something from a Dairy Queen business because they make amazing frozen delights. Or like we have a local Canadian chocolatier that does like dipped, like Haagen-Dazs type style of like, but in their type of chocolate. So those are like if I'm feeling like I'm a Rockefeller and I want to splurge. But if we're going for the basic everydays, I mean, I don't really have a favorite. I'm very much in moderation kind of with those types of things. So when the cyclones showed up at the house, Haley brought them over. I was like, I haven't had one of these since I was a kid, and it was a delight. And so I'm like, those are my favorite. But I also enjoy fudgesicles, and I like freezies, the white ones or yellow ones.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? It's amazing. Yeah.
Popsicles, like a classic popsicle.
Popsicle
grape,
works.
Orange.
I had a frozen lemonade earlier this week, and I don't know what it was, but I was just like, oh, damn, this is really
and like
good.
let's be honest, if we're talking about frozen delights, there's also margaritas blended and pina coladas and blue Hawaiis and any other kind of frosty concoction that you can get in a large guitar in Las Vegas on one of those sidebars. $27.95, and you have the Eiffel Tower full of slushy mojito magic.
Oh, I can tell you about the boot full of beer that I got at a spot in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Where I was quoted one price, which was for the beer, but they didn't tell me the price for the boot, the glass boot that you get to take home. So my $80 boot of beer.
$80?
Yeah.
You're kidding. That's like $100 Canadian. What kind of beer was it? Like Bud Light? Wasn't even a good beer.
Oh, no. It was very good. We were at a brew house.
Oh, okay.
And that's fine, but it was like, and then I still had to somehow get it home. So a friend who lives there, thank goodness, shipped it for me. But it was,
goodness gracious.
That was like a coming home going, okay, I did something stupid. Not
Lesson
really
learned.
stupid that you'd think in Vegas, but
yeah,
I wasn't paying attention. So
fair enough.
That was it. But hey, our chef of the day here on the NX01. I just keep going. It was a delight to see this father-daughter story where, trying to retain or capture a moment in time and hold on to that. And I could kind of really relate to the fear that the dad had of certain things of, I've put us in this really bad situation and I don't know exactly what to do. And if it was just something that was affecting me, that's fine. But now that this is affecting my child.
Because how long were they there for again?
I think they told everybody 3 years, but it was really about 22.
So she grew up.
Right.
Holographics.
Yeah. I mean, she grew up and she knew the hologram mom wasn't her mom.
Yeah.
So I'm all of that. And for 22 years of, okay, you use a chunk of that time to build these holograms and kind of sort of make things normal-ish.
Yeah.
But then what is the just wallowing in guilt as opposed to just, okay, I screwed up the situation. So what I'm going to do is put all my effort into fixing it. And what?
I just can't help but think of all the weird things that they may have been up to with some of those holograms. Just my brain went there. I'm like, what didn't we see happening in this weird, messed up, like potentially traumatizing world of, you know?
I would hope
My mind goes there anytime there's like robots or holograms. I'm like, tell me what you really were up to. Come on. Let's be real.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But I don't know about you. I found myself just rewatching the scenes with Renee in them.
Yeah.
And just really appreciating this person and working the craft. And then it like shifted me mentally, going, since we're seeing right now updates online about the Voyager documentary being recorded.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized how really thankful I was that we, got the DS9 documentary.
I've still not seen it.
Oh,
I can't find. I've had a hard time in Canada trying to find it, and I think I saw it pop up somewhere, and I was like, I'm not ready to watch it yet because I'm still really enjoying my rewatch. But I'm gonna have to do some research because I think that after I've finished doing a bit more of a rewatch, I'll have an even more of an appreciation for the documentary because I've heard really amazing things about it.
It is amazing. If you need to, I will give you one of my copies. I'll send it to you, the Blu-ray, and you can have it. And just because it's amazing to see everybody that's in it, and it's wonderful that we got interviews with people before they passed on.
It was called What We Left Behind. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to do a little searching right now while you keep talking.
Okay, there you go. Well, it just keeps going to how I think in a lot of ways we're very I don't know if spoiled is the correct word, but there's so many good performers that are in all these series that sometimes certain things are taken for granted and maybe not appreciated as much at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get to see people come back again, and like I earlier called him not Odo in the recap, because it was like, okay, this is not Odo. This is a different character. And he crushes it. And I'm like, wonderful. Man, how many other things and people do we have that, maybe we should really hold on to certain things and appreciate them at the moment instead of afterwards.
Yeah, that's such yeah.
And part of this whole thing, I felt like with the father's regret in this episode, then I went back to go, I don't want to regret that I looked over things, or I just passed them by, or didn't give it enough thought while things were happening. And whether it's a series that we really love or not so much, just still think about, hey, people are trying their best, and I got to give it to people, whether it works or not for everybody else. When you're giving your all, not 110%, because that just doesn't exist, but when you give your best effort, okay, thank you, I appreciate that, and I'll go from there. And a delight on seeing things. We talked about this already. Is with Trip, I find him to be more of an organic character. A little, smitten, heavy story for him didn't seem to me as as the Archer love.
He's a natural. He really is. Yeah.
He's not sickly sweet. Seems like a very good-natured person. He gets along, with a lot of people. He was getting along with, the Vulcan who's coming by, and has a heart-to-heart with the Vulcan of, hey, check in with your pops before he dies. And that's where I go, okay, I'm glad it was, Trip a love story here, because if this was an Archer thing, I don't think I would have liked it.
No, he just had his awkward one in the last episode with the alien lady bug running around getting killed thing. And it wasn't that great. I mean, it was all right, but
aren't all of Archer's kind of pseudo love stories so far? They've just been so no thanks.
Yeah.
It's like,
I like it
no,
though. I think that we covered some good ground on this one because it brought back kind of the feelings that I had watching it, where I was like, this felt like a warm hug of an episode. Like it really did. And
yes.
it was cute and it was sweet and it was well done. And I think this is a good example of where I'm okay with them forcing only the same characters on us. Trip does it naturally and enjoyable. And seeing Renee was the icing on the cake or the a la mode on the pie. So it's
So
been
true.
one of a series of good episodes we've had back to back to back. And it kind of, I think, fueled my now I want the next one. Now I want the next one. I'm getting hungry for the next one because I'm seeing Ethan Phillips. I'm seeing Renee. I'm seeing Jeffrey Coombs again. I'm like, who else is going to be? Like, I know there's a couple of
Hmm.
people that show up later on in other seasons, but there's a whole bunch I don't know. So I'm very excited to see if there's more surprises because they've all been well done, where it's not an obvious in your face. It's
Hmm.
been really subtle and welcomed. So
Well, that's wonderful. Then that we're doing your job where you're looking forward to seeing what is happening next. It's like, thank goodness.
awesome.
It was very good. Well, gosh darn it.
We did
I
it.
think we did it. I think that closes our coverage right now on this episode of Oasis. Oh, you all, guess what? We will be back next time to discuss seeing an old friend, oh boy, in Detained, as we continue to celebrate the 20th anniversary year of Enterprise. Until then, remember you can subscribe to Discovering Trek by searching for us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or heading to discoveringtrek.com. You can always find us on Twitter at Discovering Trek. Send us some messages, say hi, let us know what the heck is going on.
I like it. If you're enjoying what we are doing here on Discovering Trek and the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, please consider supporting us on Patreon. As a subscriber, you get access to the unedited recordings of episodes, which are always a doozy, as well as exclusive content and great subscriber rewards like our annual supporters pin from Fansets and our exclusive Trek Geeks Podcast Network t-shirt. We would like to take a moment to recognize the following amazing producers of Discovering Trek. Thank you for all of your support. They are Mike Bovia, Chaz Bradshaw, Kyle Castillo, Peter Craig, Craig Ewing, Jackie and Chris Hackney, Kimberly Hartman, David Hood, Lionel Marchand, Matt McGonigal, Jim McMahon, Darren Metcalf, Charlie Mulvey, Sean O'Halloran, Jamie Rogers, Chris Tribuzio, Ken Tripp, Christina Werther, and Jess Vachon. Plus, the senior producer of Discovering Trek is Jude Tatman.
Jude Tatman! Hey, if you'd like to become a producer of Discovering Trek or get access to the raw audio for Discovering Trek episodes, please head on over to patreon.com Trek Geeks for all the details. And it won't be 3 or 22 years later until you hear from us again. So, 2 scoops of Rocky Road or Jamaica Almond Fudge ice cream to beam out.
Or 2 scoops of raisins.
No fiber today.
Awesome.
Music for Discovering Trek is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. Discovering Trek is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut!